pretty good.
That's good. Welcome to Polite as Fuck, everyone.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Another Wednesday. Another week. Another week.
Another hot topic.
Yeah. Another week closer to summer.
Yeah.
Better weather. Thank God.
I know, literally what? Why is it like this?
I don't know. June gloom, May and June gloom.
May gray, June gloom.
Yeah.
But it's been friggin' the whole year gloom.
I know. the whole year gloom.
The one day the sun was out, everyone actually went insane.
Honestly. Us included. No.
Hopefully wherever you're listening, it's sunny and beautiful because that makes you happy. I follow this account on TikTok that's like, Are You Happy? That's the name of the account. Mm-hmm. And they like go up to strangers and ask them that. I saw one the other day and someone was like, no, I'm not. They were like, what do you think would make you happy? And they were like, the sun. And I feel like that is me. Like when the sun's not out, I'm like, ugh.
I wish it was like raining.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's kind of warm out too.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's
Your
weird.
Your voice sounds like really hot. It's like
I know.
Raspy.
What is it? Hot?
Yeah.
I hear myself.
Sophia Bush or whatever her name is. Did you ever watch One Tree Hill?
Oh, yeah.
I wanted her voice so bad.
I don't remember her voice.
It was like raspy and...
Oh, yeah. I think I do remember.
Explain it, but...
I hear myself talking and I'm like, I wish I could just talk normally. And I don't know why my voice sounds like this. Probably because I'm getting sick. Ugh. Anyway, you guys are going to have to deal with my sexy, raspy voice today.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about virginity and how fucked up it is. Just
an
opportunity for us to talk about sex. Like, that's basically what we're doing here today. No.
I wanted to ask you, what, like, when you were growing up, what did you think virginity was? Like, how would you have defined virginity as a teen?
As a teen, yeah, like, not having sex. I feel like I pretty much was thinking, like, not having penis and vagina sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't feel, I feel like that was it. Like, that's how I pictured it. But I also think, I don't know, is yours different? Did you think of it something different?
No, when I was growing up, I thought the same. But I was thinking about it and, like, what was I taught? Like, it was, like, don't have sex.
Yeah.
But they never, like, specified. So I went and did everything under the sun except for stick a penis inside me.
Well, and that's, I think, like, that's kind of, like, a perfect place to, like, start off is, like, yeah, what did we think, like, sex was when we grew up? Because, like, I feel like, I mean, we've talked about this before. We both grew up in religious families. Yours a little bit, like, more strict than mine. But it was a conversation. I wouldn't even say conversation, but it was something that was brought up that both in church and, like, in the family. And it wasn't even... I'm very grateful because I feel like my mom was a little bit open-minded, but still when you have a gazillion girls in one household, especially when they're all like boy crazy or love crazy, you kind of have to have that conversation more and more. But like the only thing that was said, like in the household specifically, I don't think like being a virgin or virginity was ever said. I think it was just sex.
Yeah.
But obviously, because my parents knew boundaries, we never discussed the different types of sex that you could have. I feel like I learned all that from like school, like school as in like the boys. Yeah, exactly. And that's where like my knowledge of everything came. And then I also think too, to bring up is like, obviously I did a lot of stuff in high school before I even had sex, penetrative sex, or penis and vagina sex. And, like, I don't remember feeling shame. Well, no, I do remember feeling shameful. I definitely felt strong shame, like, when I went to the church. I remember us talking about this before on, I forget what episode, but when I was, like, getting back into the church my junior year, when we moved to Southern California, my boyfriend, like high school little fling at the time, was like very religious. And I think in that moment, having to tell him that I had already had like not just one sexual partner that like took my virginity and all this shit, but to say like I've had multiple. I was so ashamed, and I felt so like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna do anything ever again. So for the next 2 years, after like being so wanting to like explore this like sophomore year of high school basically, which is very young, I did not do anything. And so when college came around, like freshman year of college, I was like a jackrabbit. I was like went fucking crazy because I had the freedom and I didn't have the shame, because everybody was doing it. That's what everybody was doing. And everybody, I mean, it was a liberal arts school, so that's when you hear about like a deeper understanding of social construct, this whole fucking that, oh my god, mind blown, virginity isn't fucking real, and it's fucking bullshit. It's what it is. And that was kind of like my journey of like understanding what like sex is in reference to like virginity.
Yeah, I feel like it was similar for me. But I also feel like I never really knew, I didn't even really understand how like a baby was made from sex.
Yeah.
Like the science of like the egg being released, and that's when the sperm meets and you have a window. Like I really didn't understand that. It was just like, if I stuck a penis in me, I could get pregnant. Yeah. It's kind of like in Mean Girls when it's like, don't have sex. You will get pregnant and die.
I think it's chlamydia.
Or not pregnant. But like,
you could get pregnant and die. I mean, I guess you could get chlamydia and die too, but oh my gosh. No, that's such a good point.
That from like my boyfriend, from the guy that I was dating in high school, because I just remember like I was telling him I'm not going to have sex until I'm married, air quotes.
Yeah.
And so we were doing everything else. And then he was never like pressuring me, but I think it was like more just like, why? What is your reasoning? Like, we're doing all this stuff and just wanting to understand more. And a big reason was like, obviously I don't want to get pregnant. And then him explaining to me like, here's how you could get pregnant. And I'm like, why do you know this?
Yeah.
And I don't.
That's wild. Even still, I feel like it wasn't until I was way older. Like, it's still a learned thing. Even now, I'm like, I don't understand some things.
I know.
I'm still confused on my own body, just because when you're interested and you care and the information is being, like, thrown at you, the wrong information is being provided. Like, just think about sex ed.
Oh, my gosh.
In Nevada. In fucking Minden and Gardnerville, Nevada.
Yeah.
It's not going to be correct or proper information. And then I think when you're older, you kind of just like assume you know everything, or like don't really care, so you don't really educate yourself properly, which is in itself like a whole other situation. But specifically for this idea of virginity, crazy. I think the only reason why I think I know it's so, not know virginity so well, but the word is so like comfortable, I guess, if that's the right word, is because of growing up in a religious household. And like the first person you think of is like the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
And like so pure, the perfect shape of a woman, like fits all of the correct boxes, religious, gave her whole life, this whole sacrifice while still staying pure young woman.
I have a lot of thoughts.
I have so many thoughts. I'm so glad you do too. Please share.
It's interesting that like connotation with virginity and a woman specifically. And I remember I had done all these like sexual things with a person, and I felt like guilty a little bit, but I never felt like bad about myself. I was just like, ooh, like probably shouldn't be sneaking around, probably shouldn't be doing this. But it was never like I am a impure slut type of, like, I never had those thoughts really in my mind until I had penis in the vagina sex. And then I was like, I'm impure, like no one will want me if we don't actually get married, like all of those things. That is because I feel like religion and that association of like she was so perfect, and that's why she was picked for this. And then with women, like with your hymen, which I was reading, like when your hymen rips or whatever, like that's when you're not a virgin anymore. Quotes again for the non-video people.
Yes.
And so it was like, that's how I felt. I was like someone would know. If I had an exam, someone would know. Mm-hmm. But I don't even know if they would, because I was reading, and this is like knowledge that I don't know, but I was reading about like the hymen and how like everyone's hymen is different. And some people, like, you don't even notice when you first like.
No, that's such a good point, because I was reading the same exact thing, and I was thinking about our childhoods, our time.
Yeah.
What were we doing around the time of like periods, this time when we're first engaging in sex? We were swimming almost twice a day, literally lifting weights, not like cute little go to the gym here and there. Like, we were like, no kidding, having to like lift weights and do all of these things. Like, there were plenty of opportunities for this like fabric, tiny piece of tissue in that like flaps over my vagina that was a protectant to have like broken by itself even before any penetrative sex. And I also used condoms. Well, I used those too. I used tampons.
Yeah.
Like, easily could have done something like that. We were high energy. We exercised all the times, like an intense, sport plus tampon. Like, there are so many other times for young women to have that, like, I know it's wild. And you just made me think of a good point that I just, like, mind-blowing right now. And that's like, when I first, like, my first time that I had sex, or that I had like a penis in my vagina. Wow, that's just like, as much as I know that that's the right words, it's very hard to say. It's very difficult. It's just like, I want to sound all smart, but then I say it, I'm like,
penis in the vagina.
Stop. Do you think when we were growing up, like our generations and some of the generations before us, like, regardless of you being in religion, like, it was just like virginity was just something like talked about so much? So it wasn't even like I was so afraid of like what others would think of me, and that it was like such a topic of discussion that's what I was afraid of. It wasn't even like the religious piece. It wasn't even like I'm worried about how some other boy isn't gonna like me now or want to be married. I was just so worried about, like, I did this thing that now everybody is talking about we shouldn't do. Like, how do I feel? I was just so confused. But I don't think it's the same kind of conversations that are happening for some of the younger generations. Would you agree?
I mean, from what I noticed, no. Yes, I would agree that that's not the same conversations. And I also think, too, your experience is different, because I didn't lose my virginity until I was out of high school.
Yeah.
So, like, I heard rumors about me in high school, but it was more of like, oh, Erica was like sneaking out with this guy, and then, oh, she was doing this with this guy, and I'm like, whatever. But no one was saying, like, I don't know. I get it, though, and I think it's small town is one thing of like the gossip mill and the rumor mill that people start. But I also think it just, anything like sex wasn't talked about.
No.
Unless it was in sex ed and all you talked about was STDs.
Yeah.
And so it was like nothing else really, where I feel
not
like now.
Not safe, not fun.
Yeah, there's like so much
all of us were doing it.
social media that so many resources out there. And like, I just feel like the next generation is so cool in that way of like they seem so accepting of people and how they are. And I think one other thing I was reading, I know this is like such a side tangent, but like, if you're in the LGBTQ community, like, you're losing your virginity may never mean penis in the vagina sex.
Exactly.
So does that mean they're just all virgins?
For forever.
Like, that concept is just so... It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
It does not make any sense. And I think that it is a tactic in religion, as a lot of things are, to keep women in this like submissive, obedient way, because I don't remember ever hearing about words such as like promiscuous or impure or things like that when talking about a guy doing anything with a woman. It's all about when the woman, because physically her body alters. Mm-hmm. And
That's
that.
That's such a perfect point, because I think it's important to talk about like virginity and why it's even like in existence, like not, let alone like how it came about, but it's just like ability to be such a strong foundation of so many different cultures for such a long time and still have like a hold on so many people and like really like affect. I mean, obviously we're still talking about it today, and like if you really get down, like what it is it's a way to like keep women in their place, to control, to be able to manipulate, they're not able to control their bodies. I mean, there are so many other things within our society and like social norms and constructs that apply to that, but I think the idea of virginity is probably the strongest way, because you can so easily educate at birth with and without religion about being like pure and how to navigate conversations to your daughter specifically on like what it is to like be with another person. And I think that's and another reason is not just women, but this idea of to create this like men is all powerful, all be like right there on the pedestal, and everybody else falls below them. But the only proper thing that can happen is to get married, and then that's when the woman is allowed to do that. It is a monogamous man to woman relationship, and that's what it's supposed to. It's like this whole picture perfect to keep everybody in their little box and in their place. So like, of course, the people that are not able to fit in those boxes like are being, I don't know, what is the right word for that? It's like suppressed, not suppressed.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah,
I think.
And I think religion has just only fueled the fire. And some of the things that I was reading about like the history of like virginity is just talking about like Greek and how it started even before like the Catholics, just based on like goddesses and gods and stuff like that, and how it really was just more of like a pure, it was actually like a strength, like a woman's like strength is being able not pure as in like not having penis and vagina sex, but pure from like any sort of what is that, like not materials, but like smoking, drinking, like things like that. Like you're just pure from those kind of like substances basically. And sex being included because it wasn't love, it's like lust more like. And then when it was talking about religion, it was just saying that like the actual Hebrew word that was used in the Bible at the very beginning, I believe was like alma or something like that, really specifically translate to young woman. So what they're saying, what they're calling Mary is just young woman. Those are the two attributes that the angel Gabriel, who like basically came down from heaven and was like, congratulations, you're having a child and it's gonna be God's baby. Like that's what it was. Like those were her two requirements, is just to be young and to be a female. And like how the white man translated over for us to better understand and then put this virgin, and now all of a sudden it's like continue to blow up as now Mary is this virgin who is never touched, and all of a sudden nowhere in the Bible or nowhere does it say that Mary and Joseph once married, even once she is like, okay, Jesus is gonna be my baby now, did they say like they never had sex or they never touched? Like, why is that assumed? Like no one ever says that. Or assumed that maybe if she was young, that she was just young enough to not socially I don't even know at that time, like understand wanting to like do anything sexually, but like women explore their bodies and have been doing that for the dawn of time. What makes you think that this other, I don't even know how old do you think Mary was? Was she supposed to be like 13 or 14?
I don't know.
I don't fucking know.
Young.
Well, at 13 and 14, I was looking at the mirror trying to look at to see what it looks like down there. Like, you're fucking lying if you say you didn't. So it's just this idea that people place so much value on this word in a book because it's old, when in fact like it's just misinterpreted to create a system that just like fucks women over and fucks queer people over and like pushes people away and builds the man up. And we still, I'm glad that it's getting better, but I think it's just interesting to know all of that and be like, what the fuck?
Well, no, knowledge is power, and I think it makes the shame piece less like easier to navigate. Yeah, because you understand like, why is this even a thing in the first place? And I feel like that's how I've really been able to like get past that in a way. I mean, I have a lot of other things I want to talk about regarding shame, but like, yeah, the concept of virginity is bizarre. And I also think that like there's a way. I'm not a sex education teacher. I don't claim to be one. But I think there's a way to teach kids about the feelings and the things going on in their body and the changes that are happening in their body that is not like, okay, you're starting to feel this way, you get your period, okay, the next thing you can't do is have sex. Because I feel like I've been so out of tune with my body since forever. Since I stopped having like a childlike curiosity about things, and it was more like aware and taught of like, you're a woman now, these are things that can happen. Like, I had feelings and things that I like suppressed or stuff that I like just wouldn't allow because I was like, no, Erica, that's bad. Bad, you can't do that. And I think that put me in situations sometimes where I didn't know how to say no. And I like didn't know like what was the right thing to do, and like, am I supposed to like please them?
Yep.
You know?
It takes such a turn because you're not educated, so that you know, kids are going to be in these situations. This is like what is natural that comes, like it's exploration. It's how you literally evolve as human beings, especially at a certain age. And so it's not going to not happen just because you're not talking about it or not educating kids. Like, doesn't mean it's like gone away.
Yeah.
And so when women who are now uneducated, you know, for whatever reason are placed in these positions because it's normal, you're faced with like I'm almost like I have to do this, and not really knowing how to create boundaries, not knowing what it means, not knowing that you can say no, how like some things feel good, but then there's like all of a sudden a boundary that was crossed and you didn't even realize, and you feel like, okay, well, I've started, so I can't,
so I have to keep going.
So I gotta keep going.
Oh, poor young Erica. Not poor young Erica, but I'm just like, sometimes it's just sad to think about the like things that I didn't stand up for myself in, like situations that I'm like, I wish I had more courage, or I wish I had more understanding. I wish I like knew more. I honestly think it's the lack of knowledge that made it so difficult. Yeah. Because I really didn't know.
I do think, too, based on what I've learned, and I know we just had an episode about this, but if I ever did, like, decide to have kids, or if, like, my nieces ever came to, like, talk to me about something, or, you know, just a conversation within my own family, my own close-knit group, I feel like that is where, like, you can teach people. Because I don't think, I mean, in all, just, like, being like realistic in the way that, yes, there are so many like organizations and people and groups out there trying to promote like safe sex and safe sex education to like young children, but I think like such a strong opportunity for like change to happen is within the home. So I think, you know, educating and using resources that are out there to like how to like communicate with your child on like sex. And I think it's extremely important for both. Like, parents need to learn how to talk to like their boys, and like parents need to learn how to talk to their girls, because I think sometimes they're like, oh, the conversation's going to be so much harder with the girls. It's like the conversation's going to be like not so great with both. Like, why are you know, just the main point is I think it's important to have these kind of conversations at home and open that line of communication, because there's no guarantee that wherever they're getting their education, because all of this stuff in this country still like is a privilege, and like there are areas where like everywhere education is different. So sex ed in California is going to be so different than Nevada and all of these places. So like the consistent factor can be like what is being taught at home.
Yeah, which is also a privilege of like having parents that are around to teach. It's just that I think that's why there's like, it's cool that there's so many resources now that like you can be self-sufficient if you don't have anyone in your life who's like able to have those conversations with you. Like, even just now researching for this episode, like I was learning stuff. And if I didn't take the time to read stuff for this episode, I wouldn't have known. But it's like, I am sexually active, so I want to be aware of these things, and also have knowledge to like support people who have questions if that comes about.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about shame? Overcoming shame?
Yes. Like Game of Thrones. Overcoming shame. I love that. Don't love shame, though. That was a really shitty fucking feeling to, like, feel so uncomfortable in your body. Mm-hmm. And it almost, like, silences you. Like, the one thing that I think is, like, helpful is, like, talk about it and have someone tell you, like, you're okay. Mm-hmm. Like, when you're ashamed, you're not going to want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I didn't.
No. I think I made the mistake of, after I had... what is it?
Penis and vagina sex.
After I had that and my boyfriend and I broke up, we had been off and on having penis and vagina sex after that first time, but after every time I would be like, we can't do this again.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like, we would have it, and then I, like, obviously we were, like, horny. We wanted to do it. We were feeling like we were attracted to each other, and then it would happen, and then it was immediately like, we shouldn't be doing this. And so I think that took a toll on our relationship. But then when we broke up, I was kind of just like, okay, well, this guy that I lost my virginity to, that I had, like, justified in my mind it being okay because I thought we were going to get married. Yeah. I was like, well, it doesn't fucking matter anymore. So I just, like, went on a rampage and, like, didn't have... It was almost like high school Erica, just in, like, more serious situations where I, like, didn't have boundaries. I was just like, yep, do whatever. Like, this is what's happening. Mm-hmm. And, like, would feel awful afterwards. But it was, like, this mix of, am I feeling awful because I am not a virgin, because I'm impure, because I'm a slut? Like, is that why? Or because I'm not actually, like, having a connection with these people and I'm more just, like, doing the act, you know? Yeah. And I honestly feel like the healing began when I started, like, turning inward and was like, what are these feelings in my body? What does feel good? What do I like? Because I really didn't know any of those answers.
I totally agree. You know, we're so simply wanting to put the negative into, like, one thing, blame it on one thing. And so what are you going to blame it on? You're going to blame it on sex. You're going to blame it on whatever it is you were doing with this person intimately. Mm-hmm. And because of these, like, no connections, you're just jumping in. They don't care about you. You don't really care about them. You're just wanting this, like, attention. You have all these feelings and everything's going on. You do start to feel like, what the fuck? Like, something's wrong. Not wrong, but, like, I feel, like, icky, and I don't like that. Yeah. But, yeah, the change and more, like, positive outlook and understanding came from, like, educating myself and educating even just, like, not type up some research, but just, like, talking with myself, talking with other women, exploring myself. Like,
I was going to say masturbating, because I honestly feel like if I didn't start masturbating, I still would be like, I don't know.
Honestly. Well, and I think that's interesting too, is I did not start masturbating until well after college. Oh yeah. I did not. Say a few years ago. Yeah, a few years. Because I just did not, like, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand. I honestly thought it was just, like, a guy's thing. It took me forever to even realize, like, women can masturbate too. I was like, what the fuck? But, like, in reality, like, that's not to say I didn't, like, try in a sense, mm-hmm. but I just didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't want to, as soon as that idea popped into my mind, even as a child, it was immediately dismissed, mm-hmm. because it just felt not right. Yeah. I don't know how else to put it. It just, yeah.
When you said you, like, looked at yourself in the mirror and stuff and were, like, curious, I was definitely that way. And that's when I think it's, like, the childlike, because I was really young. I remember, like, doing stuff like that and was just like, what is this? Yes. What's in my body? Yeah. And then when you, like, go through puberty and you're having all these, like, feelings and these hormones and, like, your sex drive, and you're like, wow, that boy's so attractive. Yes. It's like, yeah, it's almost like you have to have them satisfy you or, like, get it out that way, and you can't do it yourself. Mm-hmm. Or at least I was never, like, taught or told about it. Yeah. And I honestly think that, like, in religion, the masturbation for guys is, like, a slap on the wrist of, like, you just needed to get out of your system. That's okay. But, like,
don't do it again.
If you touch your body as a woman, it's almost like just as bad. At least
Yeah.
that's how I felt.
Yeah.
It was like,
Well, it wasn't even talked about. It just
Yeah.
felt very, very, like, rated R. It just felt very, like...
Oh yeah, it wasn't
Not even
talked about
it
because
wasn't
you
even
shouldn't even be having those thoughts.
No, it was
that
like...
was where it like started.
Yeah, it was just not even, like... I don't even remember anyone ever, like, talking about it. It was just, like, the only thing I remember is it popping into my mind and, like I said, just immediately dismissed because I didn't know.
Yeah. I don't own a vibrator. I think we've talked about this. I've just used my hands. But I have watched porn before, and I don't love it.
Oh, me either.
Like, I know that porn's actually really not good for your brain. Just in the sense of, like, then you, one, like, start to have these feelings of something that's not real. Mm-hmm. And two, like, porn isn't real. So when you see these things happening and you're expecting, like, that is how a woman gets off, or, like, this is okay, like, whatever they're doing, I don't know, like, the creepy
I don't
stuff
even know.
that
Yeah.
happens.
I
it's
think
like,
that is, and that's frustrating because that was the kind of porn, like, we grew up with. Like, if you hear or you saw anything, or just even, like, the sexy pictures that would, like, pop up. It was around, like, when social media, like, we were being held to these, like, standards to, like, look a certain way. We need to be skinny, but our boobs need to be huge, and everything needs to be, like, I remember being we swam. So, like, our bodies were legit open and out to the whole public. And I remember never feeling self-conscious about my body until one time I realized that, like, my skin was a little bit darker, like, on my bikini line than it was anywhere else. And then seeing it illustrated in, like, weird ass porn that, like, everybody's, like, bleached white or, like, whatever.
Yeah.
You're almost like, I don't look like that. I
Yeah.
am not. We're both hairy girls. Like, I don't look like that. I don't know how to even start to look like that. Mm-hmm. And that's where it started. I do have to say, though, I don't know them, but I know that there are more resources out there for, like, healthy sex porn and more, like, realistic, which is fantastic. But I think for people like us who grew up, not saying that we, like, watched porn as a children like that,
Yeah.
but it to the point where, like, it's not just porn, it's what's happening on television, what's happening on our phones, what is being, like, talked about, what's, you know, being told is attractive, and all of that coming down to just being, like, unrealistic expectations, and then that having a negative effect. Okay.
You're doing so good.
I know.
Keep going. Having a negative effect.
Yeah, having a negative effect on you. We get it out. My thought came out, guys. I did it.
Well, yes, all of those things. I wanted to, like, talk about masturbating more in, like, a positive way. Mm-hmm. And I guess, what have you, like, you use?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I have stuff. I have one vibrator, but I love her. She's perfect. She's so tiny and just perfect. And that was a very, very recent purchase, probably within, like, the maybe a little over a year now. Mm-hmm. And, like, I had, like, a steady job, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And I absolutely love it.
Was it because of the money that you didn't get one, or was more of, like, a fear, or, like, a I don't know how to use it or what I need type of thing?
Oh, a combination of all of it. Like I said, I did not even masturbate until, like, honestly, probably when I was in Australia. And I remember I had because of where I lived, I'm not going to go into it because you guys know already my situation in Australia. Very crazy. I couldn't lock the door to the house. And so I was having my time. And so my partner at the time walked in. And in my mind, it could have been a great opportunity to be like, why don't you come join me? And I was, like, shamed for doing. Not even shamed. Nothing was said. It was just, like, laughed at and was like, oh, my God, is that what you're doing right now? Really? Like, kind of thought process. And I was just like, okay, so that kind of, like, stopped. But also, like, if I'm not having sex and I've had sex before and I'm in the middle of nowhere, like, there's not a lot to do. So I still continue to do it, just more secretively. And so coming back from that, like, toxic relationship, toxic environment, and then finding a steady job, finding a steady household, learning, once you feel, like, more comfortable in your body, you're able to, like, just learn and be able to soak up more information and just things around you. So I was just overall more happy. And then with the like steady income and then realizing like I want to do me. Like literally I want to do myself. I just started loving myself again, and I think that's what really made me do it. And I hardly use my hand. I do think it's nice too. I mean, not like to get too much. It's not a sex episode, but we know you guys like to hear it anyway. I think it's very, very, I say this to like all women that are comfortable like masturbating. I think it's important for you to use your hand, even if you love your vibrator, because a guy isn't going to do, if you're into, somebody isn't going to do what a vibrator does to you. And I think it's important to remember that, because there are some times where I'm like, I just need to get it done. But there are times where I'm like, I'm feeling myself, I have the time, I have the energy, and then it's a great opportunity to learn. It's like it's like studying for a test, and then it makes like sex like more enjoyable. It also, with masturbation, now that we're talking about that, I think it's also opened my mind to learning about foreplay, because with virginity, like, yes, we talked about it before, you know, because of this like losing your virginity aspect, it was so like a no to have like the penis and vagina sex. But I still like was doing stuff. I had oral sex, I was giving oral sex, like all of that stuff. I just didn't realize that is a very, very important like quality to have. And like it's like sex is like so wide, it's a huge,
it's not like a one
thing. They all like accumulate to be this like intimate thing with another person. And I think masturbation helped me realize like there's more to sex, because we were shamed so much or told like don't lose your virginity. So once we did lose our virginity, exactly like you said, it was like, oh well, fuck it. Welcome. Let's do everything. And then you realize, like, okay, you get that out of your system and it's still not filling your cup. And then, let me tell you, I bet you remember the first time where you had foreplay and sex in a healthy, somewhat person. Damn, this is the best fucking sex you ever had. Because I remember it. You're like, it's awesome. And because, like, it is, you know, important to look back on how, like, we were educated. But I'm like, thank God I finally learned, because now I feel like I can have like awesome sex and not feel like shame, and also like learn and figure out like what I like, because it's very different than what I thought I liked when I was a youngin'.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think this goes back to like what you were just saying about like communication and talking about it in the home. Like hopefully that would instill or allow for that line of communication to continue with whoever you're with in the bedroom. Like if you're able to have those conversations with people, whether it's your parents or someone else, like when you feel comfortable talking about sex and like what we're doing right now, like I'll be honest, talking to you about masturbating, I'm like, I know. But it's also like, if I can talk about it, then I can like learn more and like be more comfortable with it and not feel these other like shameful or like, am I gross, am I weird type of emotions, because it's normalized. And then when you get into the bedroom, it's like, hey, I don't really like that, or like, can we try this, because you know and you feel comfortable.
No, exactly. I think that's important too. It's the communication build like it enables you to say no, because I think that's where I struggled with, is not being able to say no, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And if that would have been communicated and would have just been like an open conversation, it would have been so much easier to create those boundaries with people. But yeah, it's so awkward sometimes talking about it. Like, yeah, it's just us and it's just the camera on, and like, yeah, we know it's, you know, gonna be listened to. But I think, like, you know, let's just, if we got to be the ones to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think, okay, I no shade to other podcasts, but there are some podcasts where it's like so vulgar that it's like I just don't even really feel comfortable listening to it, or I can't relate, because it's like very aggressive. And so I appreciate that. I think we're very like, our approach is
softer.
Yeah,
just because it helps. I do think like I definitely, based on this conversation and like where my comfortability is when talking with friends, I think a lot of that has to do with my mom, because she was very open in a healthy way growing up. And if I ever had any questions, I mean, it's difficult to navigate no matter what, especially as a parent. I can't even imagine. But if I ever had any questions, like, I did feel very open. It was also hard because of my dad, I think, is where like the hard part came into, just because like a dad of all girls, a dad that came from a not only religious like family but Cuban family. I mean, there's like so many other aspects. Quick side story, but I just want to tell you while it's on my mind. I was getting a gift for my birthday, and it was a new bed. And my dad had like bought a bed frame, and we were gonna go get mattresses and go look at mattresses. But my current bed that I had was like, I don't know if you remember, it was like the futon, and it had the drawers under the anyway. In one of the drawers was like condoms or like a pregnancy test or like something crazy. Like, I don't think it was lube. I definitely did not know what lube was until I was older, but like something crazy like that. My dad had picked me up from school. We went and like looked at mattresses, having a day, come back home from not being home at all, from school, from practice, carrying the mattress that's supposed to go on my new bed. And as I walk in the living room, on the kitchen, like on the table, in front of for the whole family to see, was all of my belongings under the bed, because my dad had to take the old bed apart and put it out. So whatever it was, I'll have to ask my mom, because she'll know, because she probably still laughs at the story. It was like a condom or a pregnancy test or something like that. And just out open, and we walked by with the bed, and I'm just like and then that's when like my mom, as we put the mattress down, my dad walked away, and my mom was like, yeah, we found some things in your room. And I was like, oh my God. I don't know like what happened after that. Must have blocked everything from my memory, but I just remember holding the mattress and walking into the room and just being like, oh my God, this is like right there. It's like, what the fuck?
It's like in the open. And
yeah. I forgot what we were just talking about, but I just needed to tell you that story just because it's such like a core like memory of mine. I don't want to say core, but oh yeah, because I do want to just say like thank you to my mom for being able to be open and have those conversations with me, because I think that did help in the long run. Yeah,
it's important to have that person in your life. Someone probably older than you.
Yeah,
because the stuff that I learned from my friends in school was
right. I mean, like I said, like the kids are gonna learn it anyway, so you might as well just have it be in a safe environment and under your home, and let it be awkward and deal with it then have it be like misinformation.
Yeah,
as most of it is. I mean, I know that's part of growing up, but the more parents or guardians can just like talk about it the way they want to.
Yeah, and if you're out of the house, I feel like the things we talked about with like masturbating, talking about it with your friends, with people, just like in general, being more comfortable that way allows you to feel more comfortable in your own body and less shame in what you're doing, because sex is fun.
Yeah.
When you don't feel shitty about it.
Yes. I do agree. Like, there are some podcasts and things that are out there that are just like way to one side. So it's nice to just get in the middle and have like a little bit more of an honest conversation. And that's what we love about like having this space to talk about it, because I feel like we can just be ourselves and not have to like put on a show or talk about anything that we don't want to, and share our experiences so that people don't feel so alone. And I'm sure like everybody's high school, like most people's high school experiences with sex were just as wild as ours, and just as interesting. And hopefully now people have learned what they need to do and what they can do to learn. And I think at the end of the day, the end of the lesson here is, trying to wrap it up, is virginity is fucking dumb. And
it's really not real.
It's really not real. And I'm very glad that there like more and more people are realizing that, and that there's starting to be more of like the social construct of virginity, and specifically women and queer people having sex is becoming more like open and discussed. So go out there, guys. If you're having sex, make sure it's safe, protected, and super dirty like we like it. Don't forget to subscribe, please. Follow us, like us on our Instagram, TikTok.
Give us a 5-star review. Whoever gave us a 4-star review.
Putting us at 4, like
4.9.
Please just
tell us what we could have done differently,
please,
and then we'll do it so you can give us 5 stars.
Exactly. On that note, guys, have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.